Today we have a story of entitled parents where somebody just can't help but keep going back to them. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, my mother is upset that I wanted my wedding to be about me and my husband. I, 33-year-old female, just married my husband, 33-year-old male, this past Saturday. I planned our wedding over the past 13 months. I did hire a day of event coordinator, but I did the majority of the work. I wanted simple elegance, and I found a church and a reception hall that didn't need a lot of decor added. My husband and I also decided to keep our wedding fairly small, around 100 people or so. I should mention, my parents gave me a decent lump sum of cash. Not overly crazy or small, to spend on my wedding as I see fit. But anything outside of that cost, I needed to pay for with my husband. The money essentially covered the reception costs, besides decor and entertainment and cake. From the beginning, my mother wanted to invite a ton of her friends. I told her that simply wasn't possible due to the size of the venue we booked, but it never stopped her from asking every couple of weeks to see if we could add more people. Friends, she insisted, had prayed so hard for me to find someone to marry. I only conceded for a few couples I've actually known since I was a teenager or younger. One couple I actually speak to on a semi-regular basis. The real trouble started when I informed my mother that the tables the venue provided only seated 8. She wanted all her friends sitting at the same table. She insisted for her, my father, my sister, her brother-in-law, my grandparents, and 3 of their couple friends needed to all sit together, claiming she didn't want anyone feeling snubbed about not being at the right table. I warned her months ago when I took her on a tour of my reception venue that this was not possible. And she started getting frustrated and asking for larger tables or different tables to try and fit a large amount of people at one table. The venue could not do larger tables. At the time, I hadn't even sent out invitations, and I kept telling her that it wasn't the place or time to freak out about sitting arrangements. During the same tour, she started inquiring about all these extra decor items she wanted to add that we really didn't want or need for our day. The venue has this beautiful bricked patio with trees and lights and a fire pit. It was just extra work I knew that was going to be reliant and me and my coordinator to follow through on, since my mother often suffers from headaches, etc., and I knew she was going to be busy with her sister and brother-in-law / any other family members. When I expressed my concerns and mentioned that invitations were not sent and that I didn't want all the extra decor, I received a very stern and angry remark. "This isn't just about you, OP. This is a reflection on me and your father." Over the next several months, my mother insisted on several unnecessary DIY decor for the outdoors. My husband and I purchased a cutting cake / cupcake package and planned for one of the cupcake flavors to match our cutting cake, and my mother insisted on wanting to get a slice of cake, though I expressed my dislike of the idea. And both of my parents insisted on all of their friends at their table, and I told them I would do my best to sit everyone they wanted to talk to close to their table. However, that wasn't good enough, and I had to just make it happen. I didn't make it happen. I sat people close together, and I informed them of such. Wedding week arrived, and of course, I ended up having to fix the extra decor last minute. In addition, day of my wedding, I found out at dinner my parents moved their friends to their table, despite sitting literally right next to them at an adjacent table. And today, my husband and I discovered a quarter of our cutting cake gone. We only took one slice to share between us at the reception. So you set those boundaries, you told them very clearly what your boundaries were, and then as soon as they could go behind your back, they stomped all over those boundaries. I think it's time for OP to enforce the boundaries that they set, that they went and blindly crossed. Magdavis wrote, "What are you going to do about it?" And OP responded, "Well, nothing can be done about the past, but I've already discussed with my husband about how I don't want any parents involved in planning of any other life events. They don't get a say. They can participate when we say they can. I'm so worried about events for any future children we may or may not have. For example, I've already expressed it's just going to be us at the hospital, unless I change my mind for any reason. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? Our next story is, my mother is upset that I can't answer her 24/7, and my wife and I can't come over every single weekend. For context, I don't have a good relationship with my mother to begin with. Once I turned 18, she became extremely verbally and mentally abusive when she couldn't have her way. I started having thoughts and feelings of my own. I'm 26 and I've gone no contact with her twice in the span of 2 years, and she should be grateful for the fact that I even gave her a third chance. Recently, I started a new job and fully recovered from an injury. I'm an MMA fighter, so now it's back to working full-time and back to training. On top of that, my wife is finishing up her master's program, and she also works full-time. My mother is upset because my wife and I don't want to come over every single weekend. Weekends are our time to decompress. Some weekends I want to visit my dad and my stepmom. Some weekends we want to spend with our friends. Some weekends we want to spend with her parents. Some weekends we just want to do absolutely nothing. In addition to that, my mother is complaining because we haven't had a phone call in 3 weeks. I still text her every day. Some days I have to force myself to reply. There are days where I'll wake up to paragraph-long texts from her filled with Bible verses about how God wants me to come back to Him and that I need to go to church again. You can see why I don't have a great relationship with my mom, and I'll just thumbs up the text because how the freak do I respond to that? I explained to her that I'm busy and that I haven't even had time to hang out with my friends recently. She told me that she takes priority over my friends because we're bound by flesh and blood. Like, what the freak? She also calls me at the worst freaking times. I was on a call pitching to a client and she called me. When I didn't pick up, she called 3 more times. It was literally the middle of the day. Get a freaking hobby much? Why does she feel so entitled to my time? I'm 26 years old and I understand that spending time with family is important, but it's also my time, and I'm free to choose who I want to spend it on. So I understand her wanting OP to visit her and see her even somewhat regularly, but there's a line that you have to realize you're crossing, especially if realistically the level of contact you're trying to put in is not being reciprocated. You should probably learn to try to adjust around that rather than just plowing right through there and being like, why don't you talk to me more? And let's put it like it is. I don't think there's ever been anybody that's been explicitly constructive when they say, why don't you visit me more? Why don't you talk to me more? I mean, what even is the range of replies you can give to something like that? It's literally either like be a pushover or have a spine and accept you're just gonna get more grief from this person. I guess what I'm trying to say is people who say that kind of thing, the why don't you talk to me more, why don't you visit me more, it's not like you're opening your arms to them. It's not like that person who's on the other end is going to hear that and go, you know, you're right, I'm gonna talk to you more and I'm gonna visit you more, I love you so much. Kiki V612 wrote, you can either go back to no contact or set healthy boundaries and give consequences. If you call and I don't answer, do not call again. I will call you when I'm available. Stop texting Bible verses. You can practice any religion you want, but you don't get to push it on me. No calls during work hours. My time is limited. You are not entitled to every free moment that I get. I will visit when I have the time. These are not negotiable, and if you break these simple rules, there will be consequences. I am an adult with a full-time job and a husband. I value my free time, and what I do and who I do it with is none of your business. Our next story is, my mom would rather us be homeless than to set her ego aside. I'm going to make this quick. Some background stuff. My dad died 3 years ago. I got over it, no condolences please. 6 months before he died, he was told by a doctor that in 6 months, he would die if he didn't quit smoking and drinking. He didn't stop, he died. My mom is convinced he died because his friends spiritually killed him. My dad was one of those guys that would rather spend his time with his friends than his own family, and he's been like that since the start of their relationship, so I don't know how she blames his friends but not him, as if he's not an adult who could simply say no. About my mom, she's very spiritual and is crazy about religion, so we couldn't afford the house we lived in after my dad died, so the state, like the people who control our city, I don't know how to translate it from Italian to English, after 3 years of pleading, gave us a place to stay and share with other people till we find our own house. We've been staying here for 6 months and the landlord that works with the state wants to kick us out. State finds new housing with an amazing area, we just have to live with another family. Okay, problem? It's my dad's friend's wife and her kids. Now, by what I understand, my mom doesn't want to live with her because after my dad died, their family never reached out. Okay, reasonable enough. But then she said, like, I can't even imagine sharing a pot with someone from that city. Their family knows so many people from where we used to live and they are all wicked. As soon as she said that, I knew it was because she thinks her husband, who the woman is divorced with now, is one of the people that spiritually killed my dad. When my mom wants something and she doesn't get it fast, she doesn't understand that there's a process and just demands it. So imagine her for months shouting and screaming at the state to find us a house that they can't find in 2 seconds. It's many families in a long process, and now they found a quick way so we won't end up homeless for a while and they can try to find us a house. What does my mom tell me? She won't accept because she can't live with someone from our old city. We have till the middle of May to move out. We don't have close family members here and nobody can take us in. She has $30,000 in her bank account, which is not enough to buy a house in Italy. She can't rent because she doesn't have a stable job. I'm so freaking tired. The woman, Dad's friend's wife, also said she thinks we can get past the issue like true adults and talk about it. My mom started using her phone while she was speaking and started looking the opposite way. I literally give up. I'm only alive for my little brother, honestly. I wouldn't be around if it wasn't for him. I'm not sure how old OP is, but it would obviously be a dream scenario if OP could just take the little brother themselves and go live in this place. If they could get in contact with that agency and say, yes, we're going to accept it, and leave their mom to their devices and say, listen, you can come along and make it work. Or you can go struggle somewhere else because your biases are not worth leaving your family homeless. It's not like you have to associate with these people. You can be civil and just not talk. RDC Dragonar wrote, I don't know the laws or conditions of Italy, but if you can reach out to the state or people who run your city, see if you can get you and your brother away from your mom and to someone or somewhere safe. This next story is, my entitled parent has put me in a really tough spot. I am constantly tired and depressed. I feel so empty and alone. I often feel dizzy and have fast heartbeats as well lately. I've gone through so much in recent years, from being more used to hungover than its counterpart because of being starved by my father, to my extended family invalidating my experiences, convincing God knows how many people that I'm a liar, including the family of a friend who reached out to them in the first place because they were aware of my situation. You can imagine how isolated this has made me feel over the years. The pool of people I had to fall back was very small when my father would verbally abuse me, throttle me, demand large sums of money from me because of his personal finance issues. I received a stipend the last 2 years from a company sponsoring my studies, etc. My pool became even smaller when my brother ignored me last year when I asked for help. There's literally no one there for me. Fast forward to now, and here I am, after a traumatic holiday period late last year / early this year, where I had to sleep in the same bed as my father, pay his rent, listen to extremely insensitive rants, etc. I'm now relying on my inheritance to live since all my stipend money is gone. It breaks my heart. My instinct was to always save it. I'm in the process of getting another sponsor. A company has interviewed me and everything, but in the meantime, I'm blocked from my school system, meaning I missed out on exams and I don't have access to this week's class. If the company doesn't sponsor me, then that means I'll pay for it myself, but that would put me in a difficult position regarding whether I should leave the current place I'm renting, especially considering I don't think my psyche can handle being around my father, honestly. I'm spiraling badly because of him right now. The room I'm currently in is so dark and small that I've expressed wanting to move to a room in another house the company I rent in owns. But I haven't gone through with it largely because it's difficult for me to get out of bed and do anything. My father pays me weekly, but even then, I can't bring myself to answer his calls. He freaks me out, oh my god. He also has some of my stuff in storage, which I haven't fetched yet, and obviously I have to momentarily communicate with him and go retrieve my things. Wow, this man has majorly freaked over my life, oh my god. As I'm writing, I'm now filled with so much anger as opposed to the sheer depression and hopelessness I felt before. I guess not even having a friend sending you a "how are you" message during a difficult time like this can really do a number on you. I don't think I have a full understanding or appreciation for OP's situation, which I do think makes it kind of hard to talk about or even speculate about what the next step could be. How old OP is, do they have a job, have they ever had a job, do they not have the ability to have any kind of job? Considering everything, I just wish OP the best. Mysterious Region 640 wrote, "You're leaving out a bunch of stuff. Are you in school full-time? Have you ever had a job? Is your schooling paid for, or is someone else paying for it? Opie responded, full-time, I've never had a job. I live in a country with a ridiculous youth unemployment rate, but I'm looking for one right now. My schooling isn't paid for yet. Our next story is, I need to know if anyone can relate. I keep going back to them. I don't know why I still try with my mom. It hurts so bad every time. I feel like I get so close to a working relationship with her, and always, every time, she does something or says something that is so cruel and unfeeling that I question why I ever tried to mend the relationship in the first place. Take 10 minutes ago. I'm in town for my grandmother's funeral. Normally, I'm very far from their Southern American town, and I limit communication to only a few texts every couple weeks, if that. I usually stop texting when the pro-Trump conspiracies or pro-Israel rants come out. By the way, all Palestinians are basically Hamas, did you know? Because I didn't, lol. It's nuts. Oh, and the students protesting at Columbia University, I live in New York City, they are anti-Semites determined to not let Jewish students get into any buildings. It's nuts. I know several people currently protesting. I'm in the protest chats on Lex. It's confirmed that about a third of those protesters are members of the Jewish Student Union, for your information, so they're kind of nuts. I've been conditioned to look past this. Anyways, 10 minutes ago, I put on 80s music while I made dinner with my mom, so I could drown out some depression thoughts I've been having whilst here. I've been pretty emotionally shut down for the past 4 days of being here, so as to not let myself get hurt. I feel like a zombie. Every time I have to be around them, the thoughts come back. Anyways, the 80s music always puts my mom in a good mood and has her dancing, so I think maybe, since she's in a good mood, maybe I can talk about setting a boundary with her. To set up the boundary, I am a skilled singer. I have been since I was 4. And since I was 4, my parents really enjoyed show ponying me, having me sing for their friends and strangers wherever we went. At every party, restaurants, gatherings, you name it, they were so proud of me, and they wanted to show off those voice lessons that they paid for. Obviously, when I entered my incredibly emotional puberty era, it became all too much. I begged them to stop. I would get so embarrassed when they asked me to sing that I would have to find a bathroom and cry and hide for hours. I would tell them that I couldn't handle it right now. I was going through a lot. Friends bullying me, horrible menses, and a fun little eating disorder. You're being selfish. We paid for those voice lessons. You better show them off. That was painful to hear. It's still painful to hear till this day, because my mother will never drop it. I'm 30 now and she can't let it go. By the way, this is a small event out of hundreds of larger, more hurtful events. Physically hurtful events. So we're singing. Well, I'm fake singing and she knows it. I'm just trying to show that I'm enjoying the moment so she doesn't make a comment like, if you're going to be so depressed around us, then why come at all? She starts trying some high notes and asks me to teach her. I freeze up. That emotional PTSD hitting me in the dang face. I really want to hide in the hallway bathroom. I try to work through it and teach her. She says, show me. And I ignore it. No more singing for me. We finish dinner, eat with my dad, and all are still in a relatively good mood, thank God. My dad and I are talking while my mom is distracted, and I actually think we had a constructive conversation where I set a real, unrelated boundary. My dad is a much better listener than my mom, so I've built up some confidence. My mom is singing a little while playing her phone game. I'm cleaning up the table, and I tell her, you know, I would love to sing with you if you weren't weird about it. I actually love to sing. Bad choice of words. She says, what? When have I ever been weird about you singing? I say, do you know what show ponying is? By the way, I've defined show pony for her about once a year. To be fair, it's not commonly used in this way unless you're an improviser. The real phrase that I want to say is that she pimps me out, but she would be very distracted by the use of the curse word pimp. She said, no, did you make that word up? I said, well, it's when you ask someone to do something, like sing, for others, just for your own enjoyment, without caring whether the singer wants to or not. She said, oh my gosh, stop. When have I ever done that to you? I said yesterday, at a family gathering, the day before, a different but similar family gathering, and also the day before that, when I was trying to practice privately for a song I was singing at my grandmother's funeral. I really don't like it, and it hurts my feelings. If you promise to stop, I would sing with you whenever you want. I'd be happy to. Mom shuts down at this suggestion, replying, "I do not do that to you ever. Of course you can turn any conversation negative. I'm done talking. Leave me alone so I can play my game. I'm tired and I don't want to deal with that nonsense right now." I want to push back so bad. I know it's hopeless. I said, "Well, I'm just trying to set a boundary with you so we can have a better relationship." She said, "Just stop. I can't handle your negativity." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but you were the one who made it negative." She walks away. I'm so messed up right now. I'm a 30-year-old grown butt woman, and I'm on the floor of our hallway bathroom just bawling my eyes out. Why do I try? Why do I think things will change? Because I have hope that I can one day have a relationship with them. I'm so jealous of my best friend who tells her mom everything. I just wish I had that. It's stupid, and I know I have to stop, but I also know that I'm addicted to trying at this point. Is there anyone else here still trying? Can anyone relate? Or is it just too foolish? Update, she went looking for me, calling my name throughout the house. I'm choked up with tears and she hates it when I cry. She gets so angry so I don't say anything. I let her walk throughout the house screaming my name. She gets to the hallway bathroom where I am. She discovers it's locked and goes to get something to unlock it. I pull myself together. While she's picking the lock, I tell her to stop, that I don't feel good. She asks if it's my stomach. I told her no. She says, "Wow, well okay then, just wanted to say goodnight but I guess not," and she walks away. Why didn't I just say it was my stomach? I had a way out, but I wanted to see if she might say something to comfort me. I don't know when I'll give up. Please pray that I do. You can't hear this story and not just feel awful for OP because it's clear they just want a real mom. They want somebody in their life worthy of being called their parent. I guess it just really comes down to how many times are you willing to be hurt by the same person over the same consistent attitude throughout your entire life before you do inevitably cut your losses. I'm sure there's a vision in your mind of how they could be if they were perfect, but you kind of just have to accept that that's fiction, that's fantasy. Weirdos Unite 23 wrote, "Wow. First, it's a strange comfort to know that there are other people who have the same relationship with their moms. Not the same topic, but the type of mom and the way you feel. Even down to the jealousy and pain from seeing other people hug and get love from their mom. I am 30 as well, and I understand the pain you're feeling. I still cry due to the relationship with my mom. You did a great job letting your mom know how you felt and about the boundaries. I'll be honest, I don't think the relationship or the way your mom acts will change anytime soon. You can keep trying your hardest, but from my experience, you will just continue to just hurt. I can't even give my mom a hug without her saying I'm being weird. It must be exhausting and depressing when you go through the cycles and think this time will be different. For example, for more than 10 years, my mom would be nice when she needed something. Then the moment I try to stand up for myself or say anything she dislikes leads to her talking very badly about and abandoning me. You are not alone, and the way you feel is valid. If you have or want children, my advice would be to give them all the love and attention that your mother neglects to give you. That is just how I was able to make it hurt less. For your mental health, you need to just blow up, scream at the top of your lungs if you have to, but tell your mother how crappy and unloved she makes you feel, how desperately you want a good relationship, but she refuses to respect or even treat you like someone she actually loves. That she does things to make you feel uncomfortable, then gaslights you by saying she doesn't. You just need to say everything in your head. Once you begin them, more will flow out. Even if you did it before, it's time to do it again. Even if she gets so mad and doesn't want anything to do with you for a little bit, you will gain some confidence and feel better. Just keep blowing up if she continues to push and not take your feelings seriously. She will eventually get it into her head, and you will see more tongue holding on her part. It won't fix the way she is or how she thinks, but it will help her start watching what she says. I've had to do that a lot, and now my mom is less insulting. I still don't get affection. A mom I can feel safe to confide in, feel actually loved or even wanted, but it's easier to hide my feelings and continue as normal. I'm so sorry if I'm talking about myself so much. I'm just unsure of a way to give advice or to reassure you. You're not the one in the wrong, and you're definitely not asking for too much from her. You're not unlovable. You deserve all the love a mom can give, and you should never feel guilty for talking about your feelings to her. Our next story is New Dad Story. My now 2-year-old sister broke my TV while I was in the shower. My dad heard the crash and blamed me. I turned 17 on the 26th of April and got a new one from my mom, despite I was still in the shower unaware that this had happened. My grandma that I tell everything to told my dad off for it. I brought a small story in r/am I the jerk about him throwing me on the couch. My 2-year-old sister was at the time currently in the womb, and my mother wasn't home. He had just gotten back from work and I was being a teen and screaming at my 8-year-old sister, who was younger at the time. My dad sent me to my room and yelled at both of us, my sister, for breaking his and my mom's phone chargers, and me for screaming. I walked to my room. I had my windows open on a windy day and my door sticks a lot. I think you know where this is going. I close my door, but the wind makes it slam. My dad bursts in as I just got into bed to watch TV. He screams at me to get off my bed and come to him. He's a large dude and blocked the only space to get up from the bed. I couldn't go the other way since my TV was there. He grabbed and lifted me up. He did American football in his 6 feet. I had the downstairs room and I still do. He carried me to the living room and threw me on the couch. I was crying and I almost hit the armrest, which I know hurts since my sister had a tantrum and hit her leg off of it, leading to tears. After that story, I never felt confident about my dad. 3, not about entitlement, but shows the impact my dad had on me. I recently quit my job since my autism made me burst into tears due to the pressure of the bar. I worked 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. My grandma got me the job as she works there as a cleaner. I get a taxi and go to my grandma instead of my parents. It's a 5-minute walk from my house to her, so not an issue. I told my grandma why I came to her, and she knew my dad would probably say what I think dad will if I got home to him and mom alone. "You're just being lazy, don't use your autism as an excuse," which are things he has said in the past. I never used it as an excuse. My granny went up with me and never left until my dad left for work, because we both knew as soon as she left, dad would start. My mom comforted me and understood that a bar job is hard, especially for someone like me who can't handle noise well. Enjoy those stories. I don't want it to be too long and I'll have more in the future. Update 1. I was going to go to the store to buy myself a little treat, and I went to ask my dad if he wanted me to take his card and get him something. He called my hair freaking ugly as I had given myself straightener curls. I tried to tell him that, but he didn't understand and called my hair hideous and told me to go back and straighten it properly. 2. I forgot to give dad the change after I'd returned from the store because I still bought him something, and he gave me cash to buy him a Monster. I quietly go in to give him the change while he holds my baby brother asleep. He screams, "Pick a freaking room," waking my brother and leading him to cry. I leave the change on top of the fireplace and exit the room whispering, "Don't cry," repeatedly to myself while he is still screaming. Don't have to be an expert to identify that this is a clearly emotionally abusive father. What's sad is not only OP having to deal with this, especially with a disability, but everybody else that identifies it and just tries to work around it, like OP's mom comforting them or the grandma just being around so that hopefully the dad doesn't blow up as much. And not just emotionally, but physically too, throwing their kids? This guy should not even be allowed to be around those kids. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.